It was Sunday, a day off after a whole busy and tiring week. A day to spend home resting or go out with your family. But unfortunately, it was not the case with every working person, always. When the work is more, sometimes it is required to sacrifice your only resting day. And that was the case with Jungkook's wife right now. She usually slept late till noon on a weekend. But today, when Jungkook returned after his early morning jog, she was already up, sitting on her laptop doing her work. She told him how there was a yearly event in their office and the workload would be insane. Jungkook was an understanding person. Since he was a businessman himself, he could easily understand how hectic it could be sometimes. What he didn't know was it would be now, of all the time, when he was doing efforts to bring the two closer. Wine did so as well, but he had arranged a special date for the two at a place where you need to make reservation at least prior a month's notice. He didn't mind cancelling it, but as the day passed by, he realized how he got used to of her company, that it was getting harder to spend time without her. He could work on some future things, but something was not letting him. Something made him wonder if he was the same person from a month ago. The work was always his priority. Jungkook sent the maid home and decided to cook for Wyan and himself. He was great at it. He sometimes did that in his free hours. Jungkook, Wyan, you needed to eat. She looked up at him. He could tell by her unfocused eyes that she was too drawn in her work to realize her surroundings. But he was glad, at least, she looked. Wyan, ah, yes, I'm sorry, you should eat. Once I finish this file, I'll do too. Before he could say another word, she was back in her work. Somehow he wondered, is this how his mother felt the days he was too busy in work? He suddenly wanted to call her and apologize. He shook his head and decided to Jungkook. When is the event? He was disturbing her. But anyways, fine, yes? Jungkook, when is the event? Fine. Oh, when is it? Yes, the last week of this month. He exhaled. Plan disturb cancel. He needed to take things in his own hands. So he put the food on the table and marched towards her. His arm slowly going around her waist, picking her up, bridal style. It was slow, but maybe still quite sudden for Wine, as she yelped. Jungkook held her securely and was finally rewarded with her attention. Jungkook, hi beautiful. He pecked the tip of her nose, which instantly turned red, and he genuinely loved the reaction. He grabbed laptop as well and walked over to couch. He took a seat, spreading his legs, and positioned her in between them, so her back was against his chest. Wine, what are you doing? She mumbled. Her breath was irregular, and he took it as a sign of victory. because she finally out of her working trance, even for a little. Jungkook, work. He placed the laptop in her lap. Vine almost coughed internally. Did he expect her to work like this when she could hardly breathe anymore? She didn't know if she hated or loved the way her heart was betraying her, suddenly beating on its own rhythm. He wrapped his arms around her waist and nuzzled his nose against the nape of her neck. Vine, but Jungkook, Jungkook, I won't disturb. Just feed you as you work. She gulped and moved her fingers back to the keypad. His touch did a lot of things to her. She knew he was teasing her, and if he was not, he failed. His moves were slow and sensual, and as he trailed his slow wet kisses down her neck, she held his thigh. Jungkook, what is it? Don't you need to work? Oh God, if she was not hallucinating, he smirked. He was really teasing her on purpose. But then he loosened his grip and suddenly grabbed the food, bringing a bite to her mouth. She took it and then realized how hungry she was. In fact, her stomach started to rumble, having same realization as her. Wine, thank you. It might be a little overdramatic, but she wanted to cry at how delicious it was. The food always hits different, and there was no doubt how amazing his cooking skills were. He fed her more as slowly she regained her focus back to work, but this time with a little attention towards her surrounding. Jungkook, do you have to link this hole to the database? She nodded as she explained a little to him as well. Jungkook, what if I provide you with a tool to make it easier? Fine. Tool? What kind of? Jungkook, I got it customized built, since mostly work was related to it, and it was a nuisance repeating the same thing. Fine. So that tool you mean is different than these? Jungkook, your work will be more of automatic. You just need to make a few changes, so in one way or another, a 2 weeks work can be minimized to 4 days. Vine slammed the laptop shut before he was even finished with his sentence. It was a little too harsh, making a third sound. She groaned and tossed it away to the other side of the couch. Vine, God, I was so done with this. She stretched her arms a little and turned around, wrapping her arms around his torso. Jungkook laughed a little and brushed his fingers through her hair. Vine, let's eat. She pulled back and realized he had already fed her with the food. Vine, let's eat more. Off. I feel so active suddenly. Jungkook laughed a little more when her inner child started to come out. She stood up over the couch, walking to other side, and jumped down. Wine, I'll bring it. He was about to get up to do it himself, but then she pecked his lips, putting hands on his chest. She slowly pushed him down, so half of her body was hovering above him. So what if he teased her? She could always return the favor. Now that she had no stress on her head, she could show him who he was trying to mess with. She trailed her nails against his jawline and leaned in, leaving a kiss against it. It was slow and as sensual as it could get before she pulled back like nothing happened and walked out of the room. Jungkook let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. His wife was hot, and damn, he needed a moment to appreciate being that lucky. So when she returned and placed the food down, he would apologize later for ruining her appetite, but he needed to fix his problem first. He pinned her down against the bed and started leaving kisses all over her neck. She gasped but accepted every affection happily, wrapping arms around his neck and in between apologized for being so busy, and he replied to that with another kiss.